Ayo, and what is up, gang? Thank you so much for joining me here again on the channel tonight. It is Monday, November the 6th, 2017, and you are here for your official Monday Night Raw review right here on Sledgehammer TV. Raw came to us from Manchester in the UK, taped, which I absolutely hate, and we are going to go over it because even though it was a decent show and it had some good moments, it still did not make very much sense at all, and we are here to talk about it right here and right now on the newest, fastest rising, hottest podcast in all of the YouTube wrestling community. You know what it is. It's the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. So, let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
All right, wrestling fans, thank you so much for joining me once again. My name is Nick Nightmare. With me, as always, is my little buddy, my trusty tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of Microphones, Blue the Snowball, and we are here tonight to discuss Monday Night Raw, taped from the United Kingdom, Manchester, as we said at the top of the broadcast. I hate tape shows because there is a tremendous amount of pressure to not be spoiled, and unfortunately for me, that was not the case. I did not know exactly what happened, but I did know that a title was going to change hands, thanks to NoDQ.com, who tweeted out that spoiler earlier this afternoon as I went on to Twitter, forgetting that it was going to be, spoiler heavy, and was made privy to a title change tonight on Monday Night Raw, of which I did not know what it was at the time, but through process of elimination, by the time we got to the end of the show, I was still very much surprised as in the way it went down, and we are going to go over all of that because it absolutely did not make sense. In fact, I want to start with that. We're going to start with what just happened because it's fresh on my mind and I'm really, really pissed off about it. And not because they made a title change. That's not what makes me mad. What makes me mad is the fact that the one match on the Survivor Series card that I was actually looking forward to was Rollins and Ambrose versus the Usos in the Tag Team Exhibition Championship match that was slated for Survivor Series, and that is seemingly out the window. I know there is still one more week of television, but they announced that Roman Reigns is returning next week. So, are they going to get a rematch for the Tag Team Championships and just flip-flop it back? I certainly hope that's not the case. Trying to make sense of this whole thing, I look at the scenario from the outside and I say, well, what is the reason that Rollins and Ambrose lost tonight? If you were watching tonight, you know it is due to a distraction by the New Day from SmackDown Live. So my brain automatically starts adding 2 plus 2, like Alexa Bliss wanted to do tonight in her little interview with Charlie Caruso. But I automatically see kind of what they're doing. If they take the championships off of Rollins and Ambrose and put it on Sheamus and Cesaro, now we're going to have Sheamus and Cesaro versus the Usos for Survivor Series, effectively leaving Rollins and Ambrose with nothing to do at the pay-per-view. Kurt Angle tonight also made it known that he filled out his entire team and he included Jason Jordan, his adopted wrestler son. Not adopted, I keep doing that just because it's funny to me. His illegitimate wrestling son to his Survivor Series team, effectively taking Roman Reigns out of the equation, which leaves the entire Shield with nothing to do. And the reason Rollins and Ambrose lost tonight was due to SmackDown's dominant 3-man team. So are we going to get the New Day versus the Shield at Survivor Series as an undercard match for absolutely no reason, only to gain some sort of vengeance for what has transpired on tonight's Monday Night Raw? That's where I see it going. That's the only logical explanation, even though it doesn't make sense. The matchup between Rollins and Ambrose and the Usos is money. I wanted to see that match. I thought that would be the match, if any, that was being booked would steal the show. If, in fact, AJ Styles does not win tomorrow night and goes one-on-one against Brock Lesnar. Although I don't see that as a show-stealing platform for either one of those individuals as far as these other four that we were talking about. The Tag Team Championship match, exhibition match would have been fantastic. Not to say that Sheamus and Cesaro can't tango with the Usos, but we've seen this kind of already, and I was looking forward to that match. So I'm greatly disappointed at that. And at that same token, I was automatically, when he announced Jason Jordan as his 5th member of Team Raw, I said, well, that means next week Jason Jordan's getting taken out by SmackDown Live. Somehow SmackDown's going to get retribution for Raw's attack on Daniel Bryan by Kane, and they're going to take out Kurt Angle's son. And he is going to put Roman Reigns in his place. A returning Roman Reigns who was going to be ready by Survivor Series. And then we would have all the pieces in play. Everywhere that they need to be. Does Jason Jordan really fit in that Survivor Series team? Absolutely not. He doesn't fit when you look at the opponents across the ring. He doesn't fit in the team that he's assembled with. It just doesn't look right, and it's not doing him any good by placing him in a match where he's clearly out of his league and clearly the weakest link. We'll go a little bit more in that as we get into the show. I just wanted to get that off my chest because I just don't understand it. What other reason could there be? Sheamus and Cesaro were not the good guys tonight, even though they were pretty much in their home area of the world. They came out wearing Liverpool soccer uniforms, so that definitely did not endear them to the Manchester United faithful in Manchester, UK. Did not do anybody any favors to get them over with the crowd, so it's not like they gave it to them to pop the crowd or give it to the hometown guy. They definitely were not the favorites. The crowd were very pro-Shield in this scenario. I don't understand it. Like I said, I'm thinking last minute they're changing the Survivor Series card. Maybe due to the news of what's happening down in New Japan. Maybe it's because of Jericho versus Kenny Omega, which we talked about this weekend. If you missed that, make sure you go back and check it out. It will be linked in the annotations at the end of this video. But I don't understand it. If you have any understanding of it, please try to enlighten me. The comment section, as always, is free for you guys to use. Let me know why you think they gave the belts to Sheamus and Cesaro tonight. What the hell is going on there on Monday Night Raw? So let's get on with the show here. Let's start it off. The beginning of the show starts off, as usual, with The Miz and Miz TV. But The Miz definitely came out and gave a very fiery, very, very guttural and personal promo that he dropped on Baron Corbin, saying that they've been at it on social media all week, and he told him not to talk about his pregnant wife. And then Baron Corbin took it a step further and started to talk about his unborn daughter, which I was not aware of because I have not been following this Twitter feud. And The Miz definitely went hard at Baron Corbin. I can't remember everything he said, but it was just absolutely tingling to the bone. The Miz, when he is on fire like that, man, there is not many that can rival him on the mic. Saying to Baron Corbin that next time somebody sets you up with 100-mile-an-hour fastball, you better hit it out of the park and not come back at him with baby nonsense. Miz just definitely put Corbin in his place, showing you why he is definitely one of the best talkers in the business. Then he calls out his guest, Kurt Angle. You know, he wants to point out all of the things that has happened to Kurt Angle. Stephanie McMahon coming out, you know, the siege by SmackDown Live, all the missteps by Kurt Angle along the way. He's claiming everything is a conspiracy, that he's trying to get rid of The Miz, and he's trying to get rid of the Miztourage. Kurt Angle starts off by putting down SmackDown Live, saying Shane McMahon has got an inferiority complex, and he just knows SmackDown will always be the B show, and that's that on that scenario, pretty much. He then denies having anything to do with the attack on Daniel Bryan on Monday Night Raw last week. He denies having anything to do with Braun Strowman's return and Braun Strowman's intent to destroy The Miz and his goons last week on Monday Night Raw. Even though The Miz will have no part of it, he does not believe it for one bit, and he starts to really get angry and push Kurt Angle's buttons to the point where he does his, when my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut. And Kurt Angle got up and was like, put your hand down, bitch. Boom! Smacked his hand out of the way. The Miz immediately started backtracking, saying, hey, you know, calm down, buddy. You know, this is great. Everybody's having a good time. We're just talking here, but you can't tell me that, you know, it's not your plan to try to get rid of me because, you know, you made Braun Strowman part of the Survivor Series team. He's like, Braun Strowman deserves to be part of the Survivor Series team. And all he wanted from me in order to be on my team was a match against you, and I gave it to him. This match, however, would not be for the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know whether that's good or bad, because how this match ended absolutely was the worst part of the whole night, at least for this guy, and we will get to that. And for me to say that, having to cover what happened next, my least favorite match in the world. Anything in the world on a pole match. It's just the worst. And this would prove to be another in the long line of absolutely nothing matches that these pole matches turn out to be. All you do is see one guy after the other just trying to run up the corner post, run up the turnbuckle. The guy pulls him down. He runs up and gets pulled down. He runs up and gets pulled down. And then they start staring at each other, right? They stare at each other perfectly still for a good minute, maybe a solid 90 seconds. And then they go to start throwing blows, and they decide to go to commercial. This is not live. Why would you not come back and at least, you know, cut that minute of them just standing there staring at each other and then come back when the action begins? I don't understand. Bad editing choice there, I think. Because you made it seem like the live show, because that's exactly what would have happened. We would have seen both these guys come out. They're going to stare at each other. They're going to run up the ramp. They're going to come down. They're going to run up. They're going to go down. They're going to stare at each other. Then they finally go to throw. And it's like the end of Rocky, you know, when Apollo and Rocky go to start fight, and then they freeze frame. Boom! That's what I felt like in that moment. I just thought that was funny, and I had to bring that out. You barely seen anything in this match. When we came back from commercial, pretty much Elias goes up, he gets the guitar, but then he loses it to Jason Jordan. Jason Jordan eventually bashes the guitar over Elias Sampson. Now, I have a problem with this because I don't understand why, if they're actually going with this feud, which seems like it's going to be taking a detour due to Survivor Series, like we talked about a little bit earlier, why would Elias lose this match? He clearly should have won this match in order to gain sympathy for Jason Jordan and allow him to keep trying to persevere past this guy that just keeps beating him down with his guitar and won't even have a legit match with him. And every time Elias gets frustrated, he cheats to win and he hits him with the guitar. One of his babies. Best part of this whole segment was Elias in the beginning coming out and singing a cappella to the crowd because his baby was strung up on the pole. I just thought that was great, that he was not going to allow the fact that he didn't have a guitar to stop him from running down that crowd and singing a beautiful song to the masses. I just simply love Elias. I would love to walk with him. Jason Jordan wins this match. Manchester boos, rightfully so, because nobody gives a shit about Jason Jordan. Not me. Kurt Angle, not in real life. He's doing the best he can, but it just doesn't work for me. I hate it. And I didn't like this match. I didn't like the result. Let's move along. We have The Bar. Sheamus and Cesaro are backstage with Kurt Angle, who I guess, was on the phone again, as general managers are just always on the phone. And they want another chance at the tag team championships. They want to fight the Shield and get one last shot. And Kurt Angle says, you know what, fine, I'm tired of hearing this. I'll give you one last chance, but this is your last chance. You will never get another shot at the World Tag Team Championships. And I was like, all right, now I know what's going down, so I'm going to watch this later. We'll see how that happens, and we'll talk about it as we get to it. Up next, we have Asuka versus Stacy Coates. Poor little lamb led to the slaughter, Stacy Coates. Another one of these girls in a line of girls that have yet to come that are definitely in way over their head. I do not believe for 1 minute that the WWE is at all honest with these girls when it comes to the fact that they are going to get their asses whooped by Asuka. You're not just going to go out there and play fight, girls. You're not going to go, I mean, these might be independent wrestlers. They might be working hard at their craft, trying to be good. But you are going out there to catch a beating. And that's the end of it. I don't think they really tell this to these girls. I think they say, all right, you're going to go out, you're going to have this match. You know, Asuka's going to be dominant. So just go out there and try your best to make her look good. You know, take your bumps and do your job, and we'll give you this nice little paycheck, and on your way you'll go, never to be seen or heard from again. But then they get in the ring and they feel the power of Asuka. And you just see this look on their face. These girls are not professional actresses. That is genuine fear on their faces. I guarantee you, they are taken back by the impacts that they are receiving. And this match was essentially 1.5 minutes of Asuka just kicking the shit out of this girl. Just kick after kick to the head, to the chest, to the back. Just kick a mania. Until finally she'd wrap her up in the Asuka lock, and that would be the end of it. Alicia Fox then pops up on the Titantron and announces that Asuka is going to be on Team Raw. She doesn't ask Asuka, she just says, Asuka's on my team. Asuka didn't seem to care. She was just walking up the ramp. She paid no mind to the little announcement that was made. I don't even think she heard her. And that's going to be interesting to see if we come to Survivor Series and Asuka's like, I never said I'd be on your team. That'll be the only reason why I would be accepting of this. I don't like Asuka being on this team because they're not going to book her right. They're not going to do the right thing and make her the sole survivor left. They're going to make her stand side by side with Sasha Banks and Bayley when all these girls should go down, one after the other, making the SmackDown Survivor Series team look great at the expense of the Raw girls, and then have Asuka destroy them all, because that is who she is. Effectively making the SmackDown roster look just as bad as you're making the Raw Women's roster looking, because you are making them go up against the future of the division, which you've already mishandled. You've got your hiccups out of the way, right? You got them out. They're done. So now let's do this thing right and book her like the dominant Empress of Tomorrow that she is. I just didn't like that Alicia Fox just said, all right, well, Asuka is now part of my team, and that's it. You know, almost like matter of fact. Asuka, I name Asuka on my team. Done. Not that I don't want to see her, and we're going to have to see her again on this night. Then we go to see two of my favorite people in the world, Titus O'Neil and Apollo, are backstage with Charlie Caruso. One of the worst backstage interviews. I mean, I don't like to get on these people's case, but man, can any of these girls just muster a little bit of charisma, just a little bit of emotion, and not just friggin' read the sentence? Like, they're not doing anything for me. Like, the only one back there that has a little charm and a little ring in her step is Renee. She's always been great at that job. That's why she does the talking smacks and all these other things. When you have these Dasha Fuenteses and these Charlie Carusos that they're literally interchangeable, you could replace them with anybody because they all do and sound and act exactly the same. So they're just useless and they need to get rid of them. Anyway, her whole point of being back there was to interview Titus and Apollo. Titus says Samoa Joe is in trouble, and I literally almost spit out my nose because I was drinking my soda at times. Oh my God, that is the funniest thing I heard all night. up until this point, because something else later on did make me laugh tremendously when I thought of it. I didn't hear it, but I thought of something that made me really laugh, and we'll get to that later. But this whole segment and how actually serious he was, and that this particular performance for Titus might have been his best promo ever, because he didn't stumble, he didn't fumble, and he actually was quite serious. But I can't take you seriously, because this is Samoa Joe you're talking about. You wanted me to believe you were going to go out there and put Joe to the test, big man. I don't care. Joe would echo my feelings when he cuts his promo in just a minute. As Titus and Apollo are making their way down to the ring, Samoa Joe would waste no time and pre-match attack these guys on the way down to the ring, just totally take Apollo out of the equation, and then wrap up Titus in the Coquina clutch, and that would be the end of those two. Samoa Joe, after taking them out, would march to the ring like a possessed bull. He looked like a rabid dog. And he would hit the ring and say, if you stand in my way, it don't matter if you're as powerful and big as Titus or as athletic as Apollo Crews, I will put you down. And I'm not done tonight, so if anybody back there wants to challenge me tonight, here I am. Of course, I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially what Joe's message was. And this, to probably everybody's surprise, would be answered by Finn Balor. Now, I hate this scenario. I love it because I know everything that these two are capable of. I know that this is now going to be a good match, especially if given enough time. These two are going to give the Manchester crowd a great show. The crowd is going to be behind Finn. The crowd already was really big on Joe. They were chanting his name like crazy after he took out Titus. The matchup was going to be fantastic. Why would I hate it? Well, is because, as I like to say, with most of these marquee matchups, there's no build behind it. It's just random. And I will be a little bit forgiving on this, because if this is the launching point, if this is the beginning of the storyline, I'll take it. If we drop this whole Joe and Finn thing, and it never really comes to a true head down the line, then tonight was a failure. If this is the beginning of something more, then I'm all for it. This was great. It was a random challenge. Finn Balor answered because he knows Joe's walking around thinking he's tough shit. I beat his ass in NXT. He knows it. So I'm going to come out there and answer his challenge. I thought it was great. Even though it didn't make much sense to do it now, you have to also take into account that, the WWE doesn't get to go to England for a Monday Night Raw as often as we are accustomed to seeing them in the States. Just like when they go to, like, Japan or anywhere else of a huge impact overseas for a Monday Night Raw, they usually try to make it very, very special. So what I'm trying to say by even bringing that up is, don't get your hopes up that this trend on the show is going to continue. Yes, this was a good moment on the show. This was a great match on this show. Finn Balor and Samoa Joe can't have a bad match. Although you could tell that they were definitely holding back, because maybe they are planning to build up to something more, and you're not going to see their very, very best. But they did still have a very solid contest here tonight, and I enjoyed every minute of them into the ring and in this match. And I was glad that they did not come back from commercial break midway through the action. They actually came back at the start of the match, which props for them for doing it correctly in that moment, although they did not do it correctly throughout the entire night. Joe dominated the match in the early going, but Finn Balor would come back, catching Joe going to the top rope with a vicious, nasty kick, which would send Joe off balance outside to do, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read and speak my mind at the same time. It's very hard to do. You should try it sometime before you start talking shit to me, alright? So I fumbled a little bit. Get over it. So Balor caught Joe with a kick. Joe would stumble to the outside, and Balor would follow up with a diving drop kick, which was absolutely beautiful. Finn with Joe would switch back and forth. The momentum would shift. Ongoing this battle would go, and I was hoping that they would make this match go to a no contest. I did not want to see finality here. There's so much you can do with this match. So the best thing they could do is what they did. And have these two get so intense that the match spills out to the outside. And then you get them counted out. They didn't even realize the count was going on. When the bell rang, Joe turned around like, what are you doing? And he's like, the ref, you can see, he's like, I counted to 10. You didn't hear me count? Like, what the hell, guys? You were supposed to get back in the ring. And then this would just get even better. As the brawl would continue on the outside, General Manager Kurt Angle was a busy man tonight as he came out to address the situation and saying he loves their intensity, he loves their fight, and he wants them on his team with Braun Strowman and himself for Survivor Series. That would not stop them from continuing to fight, however, and Finn Balor would execute an absolutely beautiful diving forearm from the top of the stage onto the Samoan submission machine down below. This is only the beginning, I feel, and that's why I think this was a great segment. I think it was a great segment. It adds drama to the Survivor Series team for Raw. Are Finn Balor and Samoa Joe going to be able to coexist, if for just that one match, before they go on to continue to tear each other to pieces? It leaves some skepticism in the air about the team. I love the little bit of backstage drama going on. It adds to the unpredictability because we don't know whether or not Raw is just going to run through and destroy SmackDown, no matter how much they stack their team with big-time talent. So that's how that ended, and now we have 4 members for the team. Angle, Strowman, Balor, and Joe will go 1-on-1, not 1-on-1, 4-on-4 with Shane, Randy Orton, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Bobby Roode. Now, like we already told you, he added Jason Jordan to his team. I do not believe that is going to stick, but if it does, it's going to be terrible. So I will speculate that for Team Blue, if in fact AJ Styles does win the World Heavyweight Championship tomorrow night on SmackDown, which I'm hoping to God he does, then I'm going to say Rusev will probably join Team SmackDown, as he was set to go 1-on-1 with AJ for that very reason, and he'll probably just be inserted in there by default, and that will be our 5-on-5 for Survivor Series. And it has some good matchups in there, but would have been better with a little bit more punch than Jason Jordan. I don't mind Rusev, but Jason Jordan just kills the whole match for me. It really does. We come back with Kurt Angle in the back on the phone again. This time he's leaving Daniel Bryan a voicemail, trying to explain himself and trying to apologize. Just please get back to me, Daniel, whatever. And this is the segment where he adds his illegitimate son to the match, which is just absolutely awful. I don't get it. Like I said, if they don't take him out, if SmackDown don't come and take out Kurt Angle's son as revenge for the attack on Daniel Bryan, then I don't care. I don't care. That would be the only way you're going to get me to care, is if next week on the Go Home show for Survivor Series, he gets taken out. Maybe you don't announce who the 5th man is. Maybe it's not Roman Reigns. Why can't I speak tonight? I don't understand what's going on. Maybe Roman and the Shield continue to go on and fight the New Day. Maybe they'll have some mystery 5th man. Maybe it'll be Pete Dunn. After what we've seen tonight, who knows? I don't think so, because I feel like Pete Dunn was disrespected tonight, and we are going to get down to that in just a minute. Because speaking about disrespect, I feel disrespected by this whole entire segment. Bayley and Sasha are backstage, and they want in on Team Raw. And they say to Alicia Fox, you should pick us because of this, and you should pick me because of that. And the spotlight shines brightest on Bayley and Sasha Banks in big-time matches. Yep, maybe 3 years ago, sweetheart. But the spotlight hasn't shone bright on you in the last 12 months. Sasha Banks, it flickered. It absolutely flickered. The spotlight. It didn't shine bright. It was on and off, on and off, on and off. Just like her championship reigns. Terrible. Now, this whole scenario made me laugh And it made me feel like the WWE really, really thinks we're all stupid. What logic is there in this match? You have 2 spots left on the team, right? And you have 2 girls left on the roster. The problem begins merely in the fact that there are not 2 other girls vying for the same 2 spots, which leaves them into the conundrum, well, who are we going to put them up against? Well, we'll put them against the retarded captain and her first pick, which was Nia Jax, because you're not going to have Asuka involved in a match with Alicia Fox. You're just not going to do it. If, in fact, Asuka is going to join in on the fun. Who else is there? Emma's gone. Nobody wants to play with Dana Brooke. And those are the only other 2 girls. Summer Rae is gone. Who else is on Raw? Unless you're going to bring back the Bella Twins, and they are not ready to come back just yet, even though they are supposedly on their way coming back. If you want to do Paige, maybe tease something like that, the returning Paige, she's waiting in the wings to come back. That's only 1. And these are all speculated. You have many talents you could pull from the Mae Young Classic. Maybe the Iconic Duo comes calling up from NXT. But you've not been doing any of these things. There's not even been a hint of any other girls even whiffing around that division. Not any other scent of perfume. Only the same 6 names over and over and over again. Alexa's going to be fighting Natty, so she's out. Dana Brooke is not involved. She's out. Emma's fired. She's out. The only other 2 that remain are Sasha Banks and Bayley. Why are we having this match? So that they prove themselves to Alicia Fox? The same Alicia Fox that Sasha Banks beat like 4 weeks ago? The first time she showed the world that she didn't know how to tap out, the simplest of things in the world to do. Tap in pain, pretend that you're hurting, and tap with urgency. Oh my God, everything, get me out of here. She proved again tonight that she can't even do that. There's just something about being locked up in the bank statement that makes Alicia Fox completely brain fart and not know how to tap out. What is this? What is this? Are we playing head, shoulders, knees, and toes, or are we tapping out from pain? She's garbage. I absolutely hate her. This match was messy, and it really didn't add anything to Raw tonight. It was just the women's segment. We would have done better to just have them announced on the team. Have Alicia Fox just say, all right, well, there's nobody else to pick, so I'm going to pick you. That would have been far more effective than this nonsensical match that just made all these girls look terrible. And then after she head, shoulders, knees, and toes tapped out, she rolls outside to the ring and says, fine, I want you on my team. No, I need you on my team. Please, I need Alicia Fox off my television screen. It was absolute nonsense. Who else is there? Nonsense. After this, we get Strowman versus The Miz. You want to talk nonsense? Alright? You want to talk nonsense? This match starts off with The Miz playing cat and mouse with the big man, but that would not last long. Braun Strowman would completely dismantle all 3 members of the Miztourage throughout the entirety of this thing. It was an impressive thing to see because Braun Strowman was picking up The Miz and throwing him around by his head with one hand, almost for the entirety of the match. Now, where this whole thing went askew, where it went awry, and began to stink with the stench of burning flesh and my dignity going up in smoke, because I just feel, again, insulted by the WWE because the mayor came out to play. He came out to campaign for his candidacy once again on Monday Night Raw. Kane would rear his ugly head only to start this ridiculous program with Braun Strowman, which I already thought had begun. He come out and essentially bails The Miz out of taking the loss in this match, even though it was not for the Intercontinental Championship. The Miz would get disqualified due to Kane's interference, but what was the point of this? This whole thing was a waste. It was literally predictable from the get-go when you heard the title was not on the line. If the Intercontinental Championship was on the line, we probably would have got the exact same finish, which would have still been horrendous, but it would have still left some kind of question in the air. Like, wow, are they going to give it to Strowman? Are we going to see Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin? You know, pretty much like what they did with the Tag Team Championships tonight that we talked about earlier. That's what they could have done here, but it's not. We had a non-title match just for Braun Strowman to beat up The Miz. That's all this was. This was Braun Strowman's reward for joining Kurt Angle's SmackDown team. Raw team versus SmackDown. And it did nothing for me. It did nothing for me at all. It was useless. Renee Young backstage with Rollins and Ambrose. Dean Ambrose says they're going to eat some fish and chips and drink a few pints and take care of Sheamus and Cesaro. That's why they're in the UK. Seth Rollins said the Shield has been and will always be the real bar in the WWE. They would do a double fist bump, which Renee Young would try to get in on at the very end, but they did not see her and ignored her attempts to join the Shield in this interview. As funny as it might have been, it was a little unexpected. It made me chuckle that she did it. I don't know why. But after this, we would get one of the worst moments of the night, which is, as always, thanks to Enzo Amore. Excuse me a minute. I need to drink something before I start speaking about this jackass. Why they would give him a live mic and more than 2 minutes before the debut of the WWE UK champion in the United Kingdom that did nothing at all but bore the hell out of everybody in attendance. We had chants of "We Want Neville" and chants of "boring" throughout his ridiculous tirade about some stupid conversation he had with an imaginary little child who was the same size as Kalisto. Absolutely ridiculous. It made no sense at all. It was just him rambling on and on and on. And just as it was grating on my nerves, the Lord sent Corey Graves to save me, because Enzo was walking around out there in some New York Knicks styled basketball outfit, but it was in the pattern of Gucci, and it said something stupid across the front and Real One on the back, but it looked like the New York Knicks uniform, which I'm very familiar with. And Corey Graves would go on to say, Gucci's stock is plummeting right now, which just made me laugh out loud. And then he would start to say things like, I'm going to go take a nap, and somebody get the Hook. And then Booker T would chime in, somebody call the Sandman, which made me crack up. If you're a fan of Showtime at the Apollo, you know what he was talking about. I freaking laughed. And finally, Kalisto would come out after the begging of the announce team and me and my wrestling soul begging to God to please make this stop. Kalisto would be the one to make it stop. And I was like, why? He's going to be fighting him at the pay-per-view. Are we going to do this match tonight? Because that's something they love to do. You know that. If you're familiar with the product, you know they'd have no problem putting on that match right now, even though we're going to have it in 2 weeks. But that's not what happened here. Kalisto would take a seat, and then Pete Dunn's music would hit, and then Kurt Angle would come out. Little ass backwards there, if you ask me. It took a little bit of the momentum away. Speaking of ass backwards, we're going to get back to the woman segment in just a minute, but let's finish this. Pete Dunn was introduced on Monday Night Raw for the first time ever. The UK champion would be featured on the show for the first time ever. And he was going to be placed into a match with Enzo Amore? Shows you what Vince McMahon thinks of the WWE UK division. he's essentially assigned them, in his mind, in the same category as the cruiserweights. Otherwise, why would you not have Pete Dunne come out and confront The Miz? The Intercontinental Championship. That would have been much more impactful. That would have been much more meaningful than this ridiculous thing with Braun Strowman. You could have had Pete Dunne versus The Miz, Intercontinental Champion versus UK Champion. You could have had Pete Dunne have the advantage, look dominant throughout the whole thing. The Miz probably would have made him look great, and then have Braun Strowman come out to exact his revenge, cost Pete Dunne his shot at the Intercontinental Championship. Cause chaos in the whole match. That would have been so much better. But instead you want to waste it on this moron, and then you give them about 4 or 5 minutes in the ring after I had to sit through all of that nonsense, where you could have easily added that time to the match, which was much more deserved for Pete Dunne, who should not have had to sell to Enzo Amore at all. And he actually had to lay there in the ring and let Enzo take the advantage and make Enzo look like he can do something. Pete Dunne would bury Enzo Amore in half a second with one punch. He almost did it twice. He hit him with a couple of forearms in this shot that I thought were legit stiff shots. And then it was looking to me like Enzo didn't take too kindly to those stiff shots and was delivering stiff shots on his own. This kind of looked at points like it was a legit, somewhat brawl. I don't know. It just had a different feel to it. Like maybe they sent Pete Dunne to smash some sense into him, and then Enzo would smarten up and he gave him a pretty decent amount of stiff shots, and I just thought it was a little more than what we'd usually see out of Enzo Amore. Not that it was good, it was just much more aggressive than I'm used to seeing him be, and I didn't like the fact that he had the advantage in this match at all. Pete Dunne should have demolished him for a solid 6-7 minutes. Nothing but throw him around like a rag doll, very similar to what Braun Strowman did to The Miz. That's what I would have much rather seen. But you wasted it. It was an embarrassment to feature Pete Dunne like that. And then you have the nerve to announce that the WWE UK division is being invited to the Cruiserweight show. Again, illustrating what I just said before, that they equate the United Kingdom Championship to be equal to the Cruiserweight title, which means they don't see anything in it. They don't think there's any value in these guys in the UK. And they couldn't be more wrong. Why couldn't we have had Pete Dunne go up against Tyler Bate in a rematch for the title? Feature the championship. You're in the UK. That's the way to feature Pete Dunne. Or like I said, Pete Dunne versus The Miz. That would have been amazing. Could have been sitting out there talking crap on Miz TV, and then you would have had that music hit and Pete Dunne come out and be on Miz TV, not say a word, let the Miz go say whatever he had to say, and then just forearm him right into next friggin' Monday. It would have been beautiful. But instead, this is what Pete Dunne gets. I want to rewind for a second because I don't understand one other thing in this women's match. I got carried away about, who's in the division, right? But this match, the weirdest thing about this match is the fact that Nia Jax would come out first. And then her two opponents would come out. And then Alicia Fox came out. Has that ever happened before? Have you ever seen a tag team come out so divided like that? It was just very awkward to me. Nia Jax was standing in the ring as Bayley and Sasha Banks both made their separate entrances. I'm like, who is her partner? What is going on? I was looking for Alexa Bliss at one point to be hiding behind her. She's so big that I thought maybe whoever her opponent was, I just couldn't see her standing behind her. But then Alicia Fox's music would hit after all the other three girls were in the ring, and I'm like, wait a minute, why is she coming out last? And if she was coming out last, why didn't Nia Jax come out right before her? It was just very awkward as far as the entrances go, and that also didn't make sense. I didn't want to forget to bring that up, but just something that irked me. One of those small little things, just like what we referenced with Pete Dunne, that they're just missteps, man. Like, why did you do something so stupid like that to make the entrances be off like that, and then you're doing so many things still on this show that you have great moments like Balor and Joe, and then you give me this Enzo bullshit. And I just can't get on board with this show. It's too many steeps and valleys, man. Just when you make me think, all right, maybe we're going in a good direction. Oh, no, wait a minute. This is Raw we're talking about, right? There is no up, and away on Monday Night Raw. We had Alexa Bliss backstage, right? Talking crap about Natalya, trying to hype up her match for Survivor Series that nobody really cares about. It may be a good match, maybe a sleeper match, at least for the girls, but I don't really care. There's really nothing behind this match for me. Outside of seeing Alexa Bliss, I could care less. And then we had the Tag Team Championship match. Lots of high impact, fast paced stuff. A lot of good spots. There was a double crucifix powerbomb to the barricade on Dean Ambrose by the bar, which would incapacitate him, which was actually the spot where I thought they were going to take the championships. They would then deliver a vicious doomsday device to Seth Rollins while Dean Ambrose was incapacitated on the outside for a very near fall. After that, the Shield would gain advantage again, pulling off some real good tandem offense themselves as they would hit a Dirty Deeds frog splash combo, which was absolutely breathtaking, for a near fall of their own. Until the New Day, as we talked about earlier, would make their way into the arena. The New Day's music would hit. Everybody's looking around, all confused. They're coming down from the arena, from the audience, like the Shield does. They're talking all kinds of stuff, saying Raw did nothing, Raw's gonna do nothing, and this was clearly just a ruse. Kurt Angle starts grabbing the troops from the back. They all surround the ring. They start chasing the New Day. As the New Day runs out of the arena, we get back to the ring for a quick second, and Sheamus hits Seth Rollins with a bro kick and scores the pinfall. All due to the interference by the New Day, which very, very neatly sets up the scenario that I have just described to you before you have seen it or heard it anywhere else. You know you heard it here first. That has got to be the one and only reason, the only direction they could possibly be going by giving the Bar the Tag Team Championships tonight. I am still very disappointed. The only other possible scenario is that they could decide to do what we've been doing all year long. I would not put it past them to possibly do a fatal four-way and now involve the Shield, Sheamus and Cesaro, the New Day, and the Usos. With no titles in contention, what good would that fatal four-way do? The bragging rights thing is old, it's stale, it doesn't even translate. There is no rivalry between these shows. So, the one match for Survivor Series I was truly looking forward to is off the table as of right now. We do not know what's going to happen on next week's Go Home episode. The Survivor Series main event, 5-on-5, Team Raw, Team SmackDown, has essentially been ruined for me with the inclusion of Jason Jordan, and that alone is enough to make me disinterested in the outcome of this match. He's clearly going to be the first person eliminated if he makes it to the Survivor Series, and we will have to stay tuned and figure that out. Conversely, on the other side of the coin, Team Blue is going to be showing us their offering tomorrow night. We have AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal as they switched gears and took AJ and placed him against the champion after what transpired last Tuesday on SmackDown when Jinder Mahal viciously attacked AJ Styles after he pretty much squashed a singlet. And now the WWE, as I said on my news report about it over the weekend, is in a prime spot. This is make it or break it, you guys. This is the moment. If you give it to AJ, you are giving hope to the world of pro wrestling fans and to all of us who do what we do here. That's what will happen. You will make everything seem right, at least for a moment, until you sacrifice AJ Styles to Brock Lesnar at the Survivor Series. Hopefully they go the route they went with Finn Balor and Joe tonight, and when Styles and Brock do lock up horns, which is what I'm hoping for, that they don't have a winner and that they make it a lot more intriguing than what they're doing right now. The fact that they just did it on Raw, though, makes it almost near impossibility that that's what's going to happen at the Survivor Series. But then again, Vince thinks we have short attention spans and that we don't remember yesterday, right? So maybe they will. I don't know. We'll all have to stay tuned to find out. Thank you so much for being here tonight. That is your Monday Night Raw review. That's everything I have to say about it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the ring bell next to the subscribe button to make sure you are notified every single time a video goes up live on the channel. You will know the very, very second that it does. And while you're down there clicking stuff, don't forget to check out the link to Clutch Chairs. It only takes a few seconds. Click that link. Take a look at a few superstar chairs. If you have the cash to do it, order one. Just make sure you do order one by using that link down below. My name is Nick Nightmare. With me, as always, my blue buddy, Blue the Snowball Microphone, the world heavyweight champion of microphones. This was a very rough episode to get through. As I said, I've been fumbling, tumbling, and bumbling all over my words. Hopefully, we get our shit together and bring you a much better, fine-tuned show tomorrow night for SmackDown Live. That's gonna do it, and we are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on the newest, fastest rising podcast in all of the YouTube wrestling community, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com, and we will see you tomorrow night for our SmackDown Live review. Until then, have a good one.